began development on Moorblock in early 2013 as a dark and gritty kind of back alley map for the Morbus game mode. I was developing it for the Tectonic gaming community at the time. Unfortunately, I didn't get very far with the map because the community petered out shortly after I began development. Although I don't have any plans to resume development on the map, what I did accomplish I am rather satisfied with. When I started PubWorks in mid-2013, it initially started as an HL2RP Canals map when Cloud 16 was just getting started. Eventually, I lost interest in HL2RP as Syria servers started to migrate towards more dark RP-like practices. I eventually repurposed it as a TTT map, but I made the mistake of detailing the map before I had it planned out, which wound up cornering me in development and basically stymieing anything I had further to do. It was an important lesson to learn in planning, and although I don't have any plans to resume this map, I did learn a lot from making it, and I think it turned out rather pretty for the small parts that I did make. I started working on Midtown. I was working for a group called Evolution Gaming at the time, which eventually became Beigelands when the owner retired and I took over the community. Midtown was meant to be the sequel, if you will, for Downtown, similar in style but different enough that people who were tired of the a million remakes on the workshop based on the original plan had something that they could switch to and play on. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough knowledge of brushwork or optimization, and the map quickly became unsustainable after I began. Towards the end of 2013, I took a break and educated myself about brushwork and optimization on the source engine, which turned out to be an excellent investment for my future mapping. RP Downtown Beigelands and subsequently RP Downtown Beigelands Night was me finally giving up and jumping on the bandwagon of downtown edits. At the time, Beigelands was a steady community of 25 to 30 players, and the maps we were trying just either weren't getting any players or didn't suit what our community needed. As a result, I grabbed the publicly available Evil Melon VTF and just started making edits. 4 to 5 months later, I completed the project and put it up on the server for a short time. However, although the map turned out visually to plan and very appealing, the map itself was based on a decompile, which resulted in abysmal frame rates for anybody without a very high-end computer. After the community folded, I decided that I would not release it again, as although the map itself I believe to be very visually appealing, the map is more or less unplayable for most people. Shorepoint was inspired by a visit to a local airfield and looking at the light patterns that it produced, and as a result it sort of inspired me to create a map that was a military airbase or an airfield of some kind on the shoreline, hence the name. Shorepoint had a problem with its initial perspective in the sense that from one side of the map you can see the end, and as a result it had some problems at its initial inception that eventually begged a remake in a similar vein, which was named TTT Partition. TTT Partition was essentially the same type of map with a little bit of design changes in an attempt to make the map seem more enclosed and more realistic. Ironically, Partition was abandoned shortly after it was begun, and I don't have any plans to resume development. However, after returning to Shorepoint, I noticed there was a simple way to reduce the player's ability to see the end of the level, and as a result, I have plans to return to Shorepoint and finish it eventually. Disto, short for dystopian, is a map based on the 80s view of the future in which corporations rule the world and cities are in great decay. The map itself is a dark and gritty cityscape harkening back to the original Moore block. The map started out as a visual experiment in my ability to flesh out cities and plan them, and I plan to eventually develop it into a Trouble in Terrorist Town map or something similar. Manor House is currently my magnum opus of mapping design, and to date the only map that I have worked on to completion and released to the public on the Steam Workshop. Manor House originally started as a role-playing map for a personal project between a friend and myself, but after circumstances changed, I repurposed the map into a Trouble in Terrorist Town map. The map is similar to Clue in some aspects, although it's much larger in size and a little more detailed. It also doesn't rely on any custom content except for a couple of Easter egg sounds. The map was started in late 2014 and published eventually in mid-May of 2015. The map currently has approximately 7,500 subscribers on Steam Workshop. Overall, I'm extremely pleased with how the map eventually turned out, even if it didn't adhere at all to the original role-playing map plan. To this day, I still pull inspiration from Manor House for some of the other maps that I'm currently working on. Community Pool Revamped is more or less what it says on the tin. The original Community Pool is, although a very fun map to play, not very appealing visually, and as a result I took it upon myself to go ahead and remake the map in a more visually appealing style. It also adds a more variety of options for players, as the original Community Pool didn't offer much in the way for snipers or other long-range combat. The map is currently in active development, although it's on a short hiatus, and I do plan to see it to its completion. I came up with the idea for Mystic while watching speedruns of old 90s shooters like Quake and Unreal Tournament. The level design is pretty unique to the late 80s and early 90s, and fans of classic shooters will know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the map is designed around a setting that is both somewhat medieval and somewhat modern at the same time. I was planning on developing it into a TTT map, but unfortunately I designed the map too small, and in order to make it into a playable map, I'd have to redo it from the ground up. Metro Platforms is both my current project and rapidly nearing completion. The map itself is mostly fleshed out and completed. Right now I'm just working on detail and optimization work. The map is based on the Condemned Criminal Origins level of the same name. All in all, it's been a very interesting and educational few years, and I've deeply enjoyed all of the projects I've worked on, whether or not they've come to fruition. I do plan to continue Valve Hammer Editor development, and we'll see what the future holds. Thanks for watching.